How's it everyone? This is Lolcohol, and in today's video I'm going to be going through the layouts for Act 3 in the campaign. All of the visuals that you're going to see in this and the written guide are over on Mobalytics. It'll be linked in the description. If you miss Acts 1 and 2, those are also going to be linked in the description. The other videos came out the last couple of days, so check those out if you also want to learn the layouts for Acts 1 and 2. But now for Act 3, we're starting out in the Sandswept Marsh. And this area, coming out of this initial area, is going to point us in a specific direction. The exit, or rather the entrance to the Aggorat encampment, is going to be in that same line. So I'm coming out this way, and I'm thinking just keep going this way. There may be dead ends along the way, like this, but if I keep that thought process in mind, we will find the Aggorat encampment fairly reliably. So just continuing on this way, there's this guy that we can kill if we want to get I think a uncut skill gem, but keeping on going down, down, down. If we had, for example, come out this way, I would have kept going up and to the right or down like that. But because I'm coming out this way, we're continuing in this direction. So the first thing we need to do is find that Aggorat encampment entrance. Should be, I think it'll be just over here. Actually, let's just see. So we're just doing a quick, let's see where we are. Are we going in a straight line? There we go. So approximately in a straight line from the entrance, kind of, if you imagine this again like a rectangle and then just hit this top wall, you're going to find the Aggorat encampment. Now from here, either to the left or the right, there is an important point of interest, and that is the Azak Campfire. So at the Azak Campfire, we're going to just keep following this wall. It's either going to be this way or the other way. I think in this case, it might actually be the other way. But there are going to be two rare monsters guarding a chest. And in that chest is a guaranteed lesser jeweler's orb. So we're going to be heading that way. And once you see these little huts with the leaves covering the roofs, we know that we have found it. So we're going to head in here, and there's going to be these two guys that we have to fight. And then there's going to be this basket. And in that basket, if it's the first time you are clearing the area, you'll find that lesser jeweler's orb guaranteed. So from here, we're going to head over to the Aggorat encampment and into the first area, or I guess the second area of Act 3. My cat is sticking her claws in my leg. Help. Yes, kitty. Cat wants to be in the video. So the Jungle Ruins is a very large area, but if you think of it just as a square, we're going to be coming out of one of the sides of the square and trying to get to the other side of the square. So I'm going to actually run the outside edge and just follow that along until it opens up to the other way. I think this is actually going to be, it's going to go around, and there are some points of interest along the way. And one of those is the Venom Crypt. So Venom Crypt seemingly has one of about 9 spawn locations. If you imagine a square and there's a point in line, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, fairly equidistant, that's going to be one of the spawn locations for the Venom Crypts. So while you're running along this outside edge, you're hoping to find the Venom Crypts. If you don't, well then you can double back. But first thing we want to find is just the entrance to the next area. So hugging that outside wall, and you'll see the way to the Infested Barrens is going to be along that top edge of the square. So here, this is looking like we're getting close to the top of the area. And then we're just going to keep following that wall, and it should open up to the Infested Barrens. It seemingly has a spawn location sort of in one of 3-ish places. So just follow this, and then here we go. So here is the Infested Barrens. Now there is another point of interest in that area, and that is Silverfist. Slaying him will grant us 2 weapon set skill points. He tends to spawn, if you imagine the square again, in the top third of the square in one of 3 places. So once we've found this, I'm going to scan this top area, and there we go. We have found him. So usually here, 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 or here. Sometimes he does spawn closer to the middle, but generally that's my thinking. Run the outside edge, see if you find the Venom Crypts along the way. If you don't, continue up until you get to Infested Barrens, and then from there, check these 3 points, these 3 top third section points. There you will either find the Venom Crypts or hopefully the monkey. If you don't find the monkey, he's probably going to be in the middle. And if you don't find the Venom Crypts here, or here, then it's likely going to be at the bottom in one of these positions. So from here, we're moving on to Infested Barrens. And similar to this area, Infested Barrens has a lot of points of interest, but it is also fairly easy to run. So Infested Barrens, again, don't go into the middle. Instead, we are just going to hug this outside edge. And there are 3 things we're looking for. We're looking for the entrance to the Azak Bog. We're looking for the entrance to the Chimeral Wetlands. And we are looking for the waypoint next to which Ulva will spawn. And there's going to be a socket in which we need to put a large soul core, which we get later on in the campaign. But we really need to grab that waypoint. So here's our waypoint. Ulva is always going to spawn next to it with the soul core, which I have opened because I have completed it. But we're going to run the outside edge until we find all of these. So we're going to grab that. And then we're just going to keep on going this way, following the outside edge. There really is no reason to go in the middle for these areas, unless there is some hyper efficient routing method I'm not aware of. But generally, outside edge. Here's another little encounter. I think you can get a support gem or something from that guy. But I think down here is, I think it's going to be Azak Bog down here. And then off to the left is going to be Infested Barrens from what I've seen. Let's just make sure it's not over here. Don't miss. When I say hug the wall, I really mean hug it. Like don't lose anything here. Yeah, so this is Azak Bog. And I know that because there is this long bridge. When you see this long bridge, this is the route to Azak Bog. If you're not confident about your speed and you're worried about the instance closing, what you can do is once you get to this checkpoint, go to the Azak Bog and grab the waypoint over there so that you can return there at a later stage. Otherwise, just keep going and we should find the entrance to Chimeral Wetlands just up over here and to the left. So Act 3 is one of the least liked zones in the game currently, but once you kind of get your head around it and realize that it's a lot of just running around the outside edge, you'll realize it's actually it's not as big as it feels. If you were to full clear this area, run in the middle, then yes, it does feel very big, but hopefully this will help you get through it a bit more quickly. And here we have the route to Chimeral Wetlands. So we're going to hop through here. And our Chimeral Wetlands, very similar. We're going to hug one of the walls. So in this area, there is the Zyclusian boss arena. That has a left-facing orientation. So it's always going to be facing the same direction. And then at the top of the area in a northerly direction, we're going to find the entrance to the Temple of Chaos. So for this area, again, I recommend just hugging one of the walls and following it. From what we have seen in SSF layouts, it is actually more efficient to hug the right-hand wall and then follow that. You'll find Zyclusian more quickly. But in softcore, I believe hugging this left-hand wall will find Zyclusian. So that's another example of the way that I say that some of the layouts in different leagues and possibly next league will be slightly different from one another, but generally there are patterns that are consistent throughout each of these areas that make navigating them a lot more simple. So again, hug this wall. Don't miss any turnoffs, assuming that it's not that, because sometimes they can just really open up way more than you think. I think we're going to find Zyclusian just off to the left here. There we go. So when you see this square, you know, all right, here is the boss. And from here, if we keep going up to the top, let me just show you, we'll find the Temple of Chaos. If you're looking to do your second ascendancy, that'll be more at the top of the area. This is a little side quest. I think you get a ring or an amulet or something from that. But let's just go find Temple of Chaos. And there we go. So these tiles are usually fairly standard. I assume that Temple of Chaos, because it has this very specific environmental look to it, has to spawn facing this way. But we might see in future leagues that it is a bit different. So Zyclusian's arena, like I said, facing to the left. And we're going to go in here. Oh, we actually have to fight him. Let's see if we can take him down. Oh, okay. And now moving on to Hincani's Machinarium. Now, before we move on to Hincani's Machinarium, let's just talk about Azak Bog. This is a very, very big area. In this area, we need to picture it as almost like a square, which is subdivided into quadrants. And we're going to be finding the boss in the upper right-hand quadrant. So assuming this isn't changed in the next patch, that is how I'm thinking about this. So I'm thinking, all right, here is the edge of the square, and I'm just looking to explore that outside edge, the right outside edge, so that we can kind of establish where that right quadrant is. So if this is sort of like the middle line, and we're just going to go up, it's going to be somewhere in that right-hand quadrant. It might be more at the top or more to the left, but it's going to be somewhere in there. So I'm just following this outside edge and seeing, does it open up somewhere? So now I would say this is probably that upper quadrant. And here we go. We have the boss in this quadrant. If we were to fully explore this area, you would see that it's gonna, I'll just run that way just to show you, but it's going to open up in this direction like this. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully it maintains this pattern for future leagues so that we don't have to run this rather large zone repeatedly. But yeah, upper right hand quadrant will lead you to the boss of the Azak Bog as well as we know for the time being. So from here, we're going to head back to Hincani's Machinarium. So Hincani's Machinarium, in this section, we have two segments. So in this first segment, we have the waypoint and the summon Alva and this stone altar. So in order to proceed to the second area, we're going to have to find a small soul core. That is either going to spawn on the left or on the right of this section. So what we can do, we can actually turn up our item filter. Again, I'm not certain if this is a thing with my loot filter or if the actual drop itself makes a noise, but I'm just going to turn up the sound a bit and let's see if we can hear it. There's like a little tinkle sound that you hear. Did you hear that? It might have been a little bit too quiet, but there is a turn up your item filter in this area. If you hear a little jingle, then you know, okay, we got our small soul core. So if it's not on this side, it'll be on the other side. So from here, we're going to open up the stone altar. And now in this second area, what we need to do is we need to find some more small soul cores along the way. And there are two important points of interest along the way. So as you're running along, remember to listen out for the little jingle of the small soul cores. But let me just describe this area. So again, think of it like a square. The route to the boss room is going to be in a straight line. There's going to be another similar passageway like this, but it's going to be in a straight line. And then it's kind of turn in one of the directions, and then you'll find the way out. So I know that. However, we also want to fight Blackjaw. There is an optional side boss in this area that we can slay for +10 fire resistance. So, oh, I heard a little tinkle. Here we go. We've got our soul core. We're going to grab that. And we want to find 2 of these. If you're speedrunning, you don't need to do Blackjaw, but if you're just doing the campaign, it's probably a good idea. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just show you the exit tile like I described. And we're just heading in a sort of straight direction. And I'm guessing, aha, so this is actually it over here. This will take us to Hincani's Sanctum like that. There we go. That is, as you can see, it's straight. Sometimes you're going to have a passageway like this where it turns, but it's usually in a straight line. Now, for fighting Blackjaw, to get that +10% fire resistance, he is usually going to spawn off to the left or the right near the top. So I'm now just looking for another soul core. There we go. Found one. And then we're going to check these spots. So this will be Blackjaw. He'll spawn by a checkpoint, and then through here is his arena. So he's usually going to spawn on the left or the right. I presume that because this bent off to the left, that he would be on the right-hand side. Now, from here, we can continue on to Hincani's Sanctum. Now, this area, this you can imagine as, let's run here. So we have this boss that we're going to have to fight. And in this area, we need to find 2 medium soul cores to unlock the boss. Imagine this area is 2 sections, like 2 squares on either end of this. This is the dividing middle line. There's going to be 2 areas that are reflected. They're going to be identical but opposite. So on the first side, we're going to head this way and then up to the top of that square. And what we're looking for is a generator. What we need to find to power the generator is a medium soul core. So similar to the previous area, use your ears, see if you hear that little jingle, because when you hear that, you know that you have found that soul core. So let's first just find the generator, which is always in this same position. Sometimes this area is rotated in different directions, but usually it's fairly easy to find. Now, a bit of a little pro tip. If you don't want to run throughout the entire area, what you can do is a bit of a cheesy strat, but that is to just spam respawn at checkpoint over here. And there is a chance that the soul core will spawn within, it'll appear on your mini map. So we can just do like this over and over and over. If we want to find it, listen out for that little jingle and see if you can hear it. This is a strategy that probably is better if you're playing in the US, where you've got very, very short load screens. But I'm just trying to demonstrate it to show that it can spawn if you want to do it like this. Don't know how many times it takes. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes not. But just keep spamming that. Let's just do one more and then we'll probably just look for it. All right, let's leave it. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to run over to the other side. So like I said, here's that dividing line, that middle dividing line. I'm going to now travel to the other side. There's also this Pacate's mechanism. If you want to Val one of your pieces of gear, probably don't. Aha, I heard the jingle. Might have been too quiet for you to hear, but I heard that very distinctive jingle of a soul core. It sounded like it was coming from that way, but it might have been more over here. I feel like sometimes it lies to you. Maybe it was from further down. Was it down here? I definitely heard a jingle. Ah, there it is. Okay. It actually sounded like it was coming from the other direction. So maybe don't trust the directional sound of that. But now we're just heading over. Let me just tell you one thing. If you find a soul core, don't respawn a checkpoint to magically go over here. If you do that, you will lose your soul core. So instead, just continue on to the other side. And we're going to power this generator over here. So first power this one, and then let's do the respawn and checkpoint trick again. See, maybe we get the soul core nearby. Aha, there we go. So you can see it just over here. Actually, you know what? That was a bit silly. We should have actually respawned at the other checkpoint and then done that, because now we have to run all the way back. So let's just run back. Luckily, it's not too far. All right, power this second generator. And now from here, what you can do if you want, you can respawn, you can take a TP back to town and then take the waypoint to this. But there is this animation of the area being powered by the generator. So you kind of have to wait for that. Sometimes you might come out of the waypoint and just have to wait. Anyway, so I normally just run through, get a little bit of XP along the way. Now we have to take this large soul core over here. And we're going to take down this guy. Okay, so from here, we're going to head back to Infested Barrens. So from Infested Barrens, we're going to use that large soul core to power this. And then we're going to head into Matlan Waterways. Now, I'm not actually going to run Matlan Waterways. It's a very linear area. In this area, a lot of people hate it, but you have to pull a whole lot of levers to proceed. So you can't really go in the wrong direction in this area, because if you haven't pulled the lever, then you won't be able to proceed. So just to show you, it kind of makes a sort of left-right pattern, but yeah, I'm not gonna make you watch Matlan Waterways. It's very straightforward. So at the end of the Matlan Waterways, we pull a lever that then removes all the water from the Ziggurat encampment, and then we're going to head to the Drowned City. Now, Drowned City, I'm going to highly recommend just learning this layout. It is very set and very easy to read. And if you spend the time learning this area, you will also learn the layout for Utzaal, because it's the same place, just in a different timeline. So coming into the Drowned City, we're going to run straight to this waypoint, and then we're going to head up this way until we hit a wall. So we're going to just keep going up. This is at least the easy way to run it. Keep going up, and then we're going to be forced to turn to the right. Okay, so we can go down to the right, and then we're going to keep going that way. So this is actually a bit of an early turn off over here, but just thinking we want to be going down, and then there's going to be a turn off this way, which takes us to an ambush. So that should be just over here with a checkpoint. And yes, so here's the checkpoint. And then from here, we're going to turn right. And then we're going to take a left just after that. And that will lead us to the next area. So there should be another checkpoint just over here. And this will lead us into Apex of Filth. So this area, like I said, very, very set layout. I suspect that if they do change anything in this area, it might just be a rotation or something like that. But for now, this is very, very easy to read. Now, there is one other thing that we can find in this area, and that is the forge. So the forge, instead of going right, instead, we're going to go straight, and then we're going to go left up this way. And that way we will find the Titan Forge or Molten Vault or whatever it's called. That should just be straight up here. So we want to do the Molten Vault to unlock the reforging bench. And this area, I'm not going to run through it, but it is a very set layout that just moves to the right and is very, very easy to read. I guess we can do it. I guess we can do our Molten Vault just to show you how it is laid out. I think, you know what? I think it's just over here. I never actually do Molten Vault. This is a kind of once a league area that you do. So normally I'm just turning off to the right and not actually looking for this place. But here we go. Here's Molten Vault. So I guess let's hop in. Let's hop into Molten Vault. I'll show you how it is laid out. So in the first section of this area, it's going to kind of go up and then it's going to lean to the right for most of it. So we're just going to cross over here. And then we have to pull a lever to open up the next section. I think you can leap slam or blink across there, but otherwise just pull this lever and we're going to go across. And then there's going to be a long straight section like this, just continuing on this way. So it kind of just goes in, out, in, out, in, out, like that. So here we go. Here is our Molten Vault. Very, very set layout. Kind of just does it, thinking going to the right, and then it does this sort of loopy in, out thing. But this is an area you just run once a league, so it's not one that you really need to spend any time learning. So let's head back to the Drowned City, and from there we're going to head to Apex of Filth. Now, Apex of Filth, this again has a pretty readable layout. In this section, it's going to imagine a square, and we're going to do a spiral pattern that kind of it curls inwards. So I think this opens up this way. Yes. All right. So before we go this way, I just want to show you something over here. So there is a very clear dead end on the other side of this. So let's just find that dead end. It's not over here. I think it's going to be just off here and to the right. So imagine this area like a square. Aha, here is our dead end. So this area is always here, and it is a complete dead end, but it is an important thing to understand. So the boss room is in fact just on the other side of this dead end, this long straight section. The boss room is actually over there. If you could somehow teleport through this wall and get to the other side, you would be at the boss right away. So we have to in fact go around. So we're gonna spiral around this and thinking, okay, that's where we need to go. So let me just show you. We're going to head up and straight. Again, this might be oriented slightly differently. You might be coming into this area facing toward the right or something like that. But this is the first section, so this straight section. And then we're heading into this second section. So this section, there is this long, straight, I don't know what you would call this, like a causeway with the pools of filth. and we're going to run along that, just going straight along that. And we're going to keep going until we can't go further. And then we're going to cross the final bridge and go down. I'm going to run past this just to show you that it kind of ends over here. Yeah. So from here, we can go down. And remember, we're thinking, okay, our boss is on the other side of that wall. So that's our target. So we're going to go down, and then we're going to find all these ancient carvings and checkpoints are clues that you are going in the right direction. So as you can see, we're continuing with this spiral pattern. Here's this thing. We need to cross this. And it's going to open up again to the left. And the boss will be just over here. Like I said, just on the other side of this wall. So here's our boss and the boss room. So like I said, we're running this in a spiral. As you can see, it goes in, around, in there, and in here. So if you do run into this dead end over here, then you know, okay, at least I know that the boss is on the other side of that. So run Apex of Filth a couple of times, just get your head around it. It is a very set layout that is fairly easy to read once you understand it. And then from here, we're going to head into Temple of Kopec. Now, Temple of Kopec, this area is laid out like a triangle, and it has 2 floors. So on the first floor, we're going to find one of the entrances to floor 2 in one of the corners of that triangle. So imagine the triangle, and it's going to be either the top, left, or right, like that. So we're going to check this first corner. Currently, we've tried to see if there is a way to know in which of the corners the floor up is going to be, but come up short on that front. But at least we know it's going to be in one of the corners. There's a bit of a meme that the room only spawns, the way up only spawns after you've checked it. So we haven't found it here. What we're going to do is respawn a checkpoint, and then we're going to go back and check the other way. If you have leap slam, you can leap slam through there or blink through those little narrow sections. And there we go. So here's the stairs up. If it wasn't here, it would have been at the top of the triangle. Now this area, there is a bit of a clue to finding the next way up to the boss room, but this is also, it's going to be laid out like a triangle. So we're going to check the other corners, but there is one very obvious clue. If you get this rift, it might be oriented in a different direction, but if you get this very, very clear rift where you cannot proceed without going all the way around, you know that the next door, the way up to the boss, is on the other side. So I don't think you can actually blink across here. We're going to have to actually go around. If you have leap slam, you can leap slam over that. But now I'm not even going to check the other direction. I'm just going to run this way, and we're going to check on the other side of this triangle. So if you get the big rift, it means it's on the other side. There we go. There is the way up. And then we're going to fight this guy. Now, once we have slain this boss, we're going to then head into the past. We are heading to Utzaal. And you may notice this all looks very familiar because it is, like I said, it's the same place, but in the past, before it was all destroyed. Now, Utzaal, like I said before, this is just the drowned city before it was flooded and destroyed. So we're going to run it in the exact same way. Run to that checkpoint, and then we're going to run across until you hit a wall, and then we're going to turn right. That's a dead end. It might have actually... Either the turnoff is going to be a little bit before or a little bit after. So I think I may have... Yeah, okay, so it's a little bit before. Similar to the drowned city. Sometimes it is on like the 3rd turnoff. More often than not, it is on the 3rd turnoff. This is actually the same layout we had in the drowned city where it was the 1st turnoff. I wonder if maybe that is something that is going to be different for SSF versus standard versus hardcore. Is that the turnoff is going to be earlier or later. But in this section, just looking for that turnoff. And now let me just talk about the ground in this area. So there's these different tiles, right? There's these ones that are a bit more square and blocky, and then these ones that are just more rectangular and flat. Generally, generally following those is going to lead you more in the right direction. But at this point, I feel like we've actually gone too far down, but maybe not. I'm going to follow these ones. And what we're looking for now is Viper. So yeah, following these flat ones should now lead us to Viper. It doesn't. Aha. Is it more up this way? There we go. All right. So I've been playing SSF predominantly, and usually that layout, you would take a turn off over here and we go straight down and over here. But the point is, at least the pattern is consistent in that we're going straight down, straight down, straight. So over here, we have to fight Viper to proceed. Oh, long cutscene. Can I oh no, there is no way to get through this. All right, let's slay her. All right, so slay Viper. And then we're going to turn right, go down here. And we're going to go across, down one more. And then it's going to be over here. Or, aha. All right, so it might actually be up a bit and then straight and then down. But the thinking is the same of just we're going straight across and then there we go. All right, interesting. So this is actually a slightly different layout. Things are in the place they're supposed to be, but the pathway is slightly different. So I was thinking, at least we weren't like going off the sides here and here and here and looking down here, but it is a similar pattern of just straight, down, straight, fight Viper, and then down, straight, straight. And then from here, we're heading into Aggorat, which, guess what? This area also has a fairly set layout, should I say. So in this area, there are multiple sections. So there's this initial section where we need to just establish the direction of the area. So I'm just seeing, where does this area open up? All right. So I think it's going to open up this way. Cool. So we're going to run this way. And what we're looking for is what I'm calling the worship platform, which is this over here. So there is this big straight section and these rivers of blood alongside it where all of these Vaal are worshipping Atziri. Now, when we find this, we're going to run to the other end and there will be an opening with a checkpoint on the other side. So here we go. Here's the opening with the checkpoint. Now from here, I would say this is the start of the second section. First section is just finding this worship platform and then getting to the checkpoint on the other side. Now this is the start of the second section. To the right or the left, one way is going to be a dead end. I believe that in this current softcore layout, the right side is a dead end. So let's just show you. Yeah, that's going to be a dead end. So from here, it's going to be a fairly straight line to the black chambers. So we're going to go around like this, and then it's going to do like a loop and then come back in like this. So we're just thinking, just keep an eye on the mini map so you can understand what I'm talking about. And it'll be just up here, just across here. Here is our checkpoint, and here are the black chambers. So this is a very easy to learn layout. It might seem massive, but once you realize that it is a pattern that you can learn, you can get through it much more quickly. Now, there is a very important point of interest in this area, which is the Sacrificial Heart. And with this current seed, the Sacrificial Heart is going to be over here to the right. So I'm just going to head down this way. And we're going to go a bit down and to the right, and we will find the Sacrificial Heart. So it's not going to be here. I think it's a little bit further down, and then it's going to be to the right. So here we go. Here's our sacrificial table where we sacrifice the heart for +2 weapon set skill points. So make sure you grab that. And then we are heading to the Black Chambers. Now for the final area of Act 3, we have the Black Chambers, and this, again, very set layout. So for this, it's going to be oriented in one direction. In this case, we are oriented this way. So for this section, what we're going to think of are 3 squares that are separated by bridges. So we're going to have like square 1 or rectangle 1, and then bridge, rectangle 2, and bridge, and rectangle 3. And at the end of the third rectangle, we're going to find Doriani. So I'm thinking we need to go this way in a fairly straight line. Again, there will be turn-offs and whatnot, but that is the guiding light, or at least the principle that we are trying to follow here. So we're just looking for that first bridge, and that's over here. So here's this first bridge. This is the end of the first rectangle, and now we're heading into the second rectangle. And there will be a bridge with a checkpoint before it. So heading up this way, looking for the bridge with the checkpoint. There we go. And then the final section is, like I said, just try and remember this middle line, this through middle line, and Doriani is going to be in line with that. So here's this third rectangle that we are entering, and we just keep on going that way. Have to cross some bridges to get there. I knew it wasn't this way. There we go. And here is Doriani. So that is, as you can see, pretty much straight in line with the entrance. So here is Doriani. And, well, that is the end of the Act 3 campaign codex. I am recording this before the announcement of 0.2.0, so I don't know. Is Act 4 out yet? We might know. By the time you're watching this, you will know. Act 4, Act 5, Act 6, they might all be coming. If they are, trust me, we will continue this project. I really hope that all of you have enjoyed it. A ton of work went into this with all the research and figuring out the patterns and doing all the drawings and the write-ups and everything. So if you really enjoyed the video, please let me know. Like and subscribe, all of that. And again, don't forget, all of the Acts 1, 2, and 3 will be up on Mobalytics. So you can go check it out there. And that will be updated as we learn more about the campaign. And hopefully we're getting Act 4, 5, and 6, and then we can start work on that. So that's going to be it. Everyone, thank you for watching. Have a lovely day. Stay safe. Check out the Discord. Follow me on Twitch. All of that. Stay safe. Okay, bye-bye.